My name is Pastor Eric Schaefer. I'm senior pastor at Mount Olive Lutheran Church in Santa Monica, California, and this is Hope Matters. Each week, I talk to an interesting person from around the USA and even around the world about the theme of hope, because we believe hope matters. Today, my guest is the Reverend Bruce Osterhout, who is an ELCA pastor in Berks County, Pennsylvania, which some of our viewers know as my home area. And Bruce has served a number of congregations in Berks County, and we're going to talk about that in a minute. Welcome, Bruce. Glad you're with us today on Hope Matters.
Good to be with you today. And even as I am a semi-native to Southern California, I know about Santa Monica. I'm a graduate of Thousand Oaks High School.
All right, back up where our college is, California Lutheran University. It has changed a lot since you were in high school in Thousand Oaks. It is now 5,000 students and quite a wonderful university, and took over our seminary, as I think you know. Our Pacific Lutheran is part of
Yes.
California Lutheran. Anyway, so Bruce, you've served not your entire pastoral career, but much of it in Berks County, and much of that time, including now serving in West Reading, Pennsylvania, you've served in, I don't know how else you'd call them, even though they're small cities, they're deep urban congregations. I think there's no other way to put it, and struggling. And our viewers should know that Berks County is one of these unique places. We used to joke this, where Lutherans are the densest. When I was living in Pennsylvania, there were nearly 100 congregations in Berks County, 100 ELCA congregations in Berks County. Now there are about 80, Bruce tells me. And so, Bruce, what's it like to do ministry in a place where you know it's a struggle every day? Now, I realize every pastor has struggles, but I think there's some unique struggles to where you're serving, don't you?
Yes, well, Reading is a city of now about 90,000 people, one of the poorest places per capita in the United States. We still are maintaining a dozen Lutheran buildings in that small city. And so that's huge. Congregations can no longer afford full-time pastors. So that's why I'm serving two churches part-time. That's a real issue. The level of poverty is a real issue.
It's interesting that you put it that way. The level of poverty has a direct effect on pastoral ministry and on pastors then, doesn't it?
Well, it does. Over a long period of time now, as Reading, people have moved out of the city and moved to the suburbs, and Berks County is growing. There's not many Pennsylvania counties that are growing, but Berks County is growing. So the leadership has moved to the suburbs. So we have strong suburban congregations, partly because over the last generation, they've inherited people who have moved to the new subdivisions. So that leaves a remnant in the city.
It's something, for a number of years, you served as the senior pastor at what I knew as St. Luke's Lutheran Church in downtown Reading. And growing up there, St. Luke's was the star. Pastor Jack Heimer was the coolest pastor in town.
Well, they had 5,000 members. They were the largest church east of the Mississippi. They used to have 1,500 people in Sunday school in the 60s.
In the 60s. And how many members do they have now, do you think?
Oh, I think they have 100, 150 maybe. They have 30. They're worshiping in the chapel. The nave seats 1,000 people there. So, maintaining the building, one of the things that keeps that congregation going is rent from Head Start, because, Head Start has to serve neighborhoods and zip codes, and St. Luke's is right in the middle of, of the poor city. So they get a significant amount of rent.
But when you served at St. Luke's and also Christ in the Glenside neighborhood of Reading, you had fun there. I mean, it went well.
Well, yeah, I got great advice from Pastor Mike Benetham as we stitched these two congregations together, and they were together for about 8 years. He said, take the high road, go with the strengths. The two congregations shared some similar things: food pantry ministry, outreach to children and youth, senior adult ministry, and then each congregation was kind of a hub of the neighborhood. So we went with those four things and kept it positive. Yeah.
So would you say then, Bruce, that might be the so-called secret of serving in these struggling congregations that once were large and now are much smaller, to find that niche and then kind of really push it?
Well, yeah, and each congregation, of course, is unique and has a history in the neighborhood, and has relationships. That's the biggest thing, right? Reading is one of the most diverse places in the country, one of the most diverse cities in the country. So, uh, congregations have to be willing to reach out to all people, and these small cities like Reading are walkable. People walk places. Parking is an issue, and so that makes it even more of a hometown feel to it, I would say. One of my struggles here at Bethany, you see this beautiful window back here. One of my concerns right now with Bethany, I've been here 9 months, and that is the people on the street here. They've never been inside this church. They have literally never been inside the building. The kids I meet on the street have never been inside the building. So what are we going to do to get people inside the church?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, some ideas?
Well, yeah, I have some ideas. Of course I do. Ministry has always been fun for me. Growing up in Southern California in mission congregations, church was always fun. And I have carried that forward into ministry. I enjoy people, and I enjoy going places, and I enjoy doing things. So that kind of positive spirit, that's what helps hope matter, right? Because
Yeah,
you got to
yeah,
stay positive regardless of the situation.
that's right. So, well, wonderful. Well, so you're serving these two congregations both on sort of a contract basis, and then you're doing some other things. So you are what would they used to call it, a tent making pastor in one sense, aren't you? That you're putting a bunch of things together to make it work for you.
Well, I am. I'm the called pastor at Bethany 20 hours a week. And then I go, I at 9:30 is worship on Sunday, and I jump on the highway, the bypass, and I shoot over to Glenside, which is across the river, Housing Project Church, and I'm there 10 hours a week. But I'm leading worship, and I'm contracted there to the end of the year. During the pandemic, I was delivering newspapers, which of course, the newspaper business is going away. The Reading Eagle was purchased by a large national company, so they're struggling. But I also work at Redner's, our local grocery store. I gave that up at the end of August, and now I drive a wheelchair van for Tower Direct, which is our local large hospital, Reading Hospital, one of the biggest hospitals in the country. And so on Fridays, I'm driving a wheelchair van, transporting people from hospital to nursing home, from hospital to rehab hospital. So yeah, I'm stitching together. I use the word trivocational. We used to use the word bivocational. Well, I've been tri or even quad vocational during the pandemic. Yeah.
Bruce, you're not a person though that gets, I mean, I'm sure you get discouraged sometime, but you exude positiveness and friendliness all the time. I've known you long enough to know that. So how do you stay on top of that when you're having to stitch all these different things together to form a career?
Well, you have to stay balanced, right? You have to have a good schedule. One of the things I've had to learn to do now that I'm back to almost full-time pastoring now after a year and a half of not full-time pastoring. I travel with a laptop and our mobile office, the cell phone, right? So you can literally work from anywhere. And so it really is some balance involved. I have a supportive spouse. Julie is also a pastor. She's at Trinity in Wernersville, west of Reading. So we manage to take time off together, and we have grandchildren close by. So I always let my grandchildren run my schedule. Even tonight, we are going down to help mom with basketball practice or whatever. We see some of the grandkids pretty regularly. So that helps me stay balanced.
Bruce, the theme of this program is hope, and we've talked about that a little bit, but so where do you find hope in this small urban environment that you've served for so many years? I mean, you've stayed positive in so many years. Where do you find your hope as you look at ministry in some fairly tough places to do ministry?
Well, one of the things about a small city is that the systems are still working. You know, there are personal relationships. So, where I find the fun is making a difference in people's lives, especially poorer people. You make a difference by paying attention to them, by helping them. That has always energized me, being able to do that.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. And thank you for being with us today on Hope Matters, Bruce. It's a pleasure to see you again and to talk about my hometown I have followed your career and you have done and continue to do wonderful ministry for Jesus in this world. So thank you for that today.
Well, I appreciate it, Eric. And one of these days I'll come worship at Mount Olive because I need to take my wife back to my homeland of Southern California. So
You'd be welcome anytime. I might even get you to preach for me. So that'd be great.
there you go. There you go.
This has been Hope Matters, a production of Mount Olive Lutheran Church here in Santa Monica, California. Our guest today has been Pastor Bruce Osterhout, who is pastor of Bethany Lutheran Church in West Reading, Pennsylvania, and Christ Lutheran Church in Reading, the Glenside neighborhood of Reading, Pennsylvania, and does about 5 dozen other things too. Has had a long career working in small and medium-sized congregations and serving them well. Thank you for being with us today, Bruce. We're grateful for the time. This has been Hope Matters. We believe in hope, and we believe in a God of hope. Tune again next week for our next guest. Thank you for being with us.